short of time today, so let me move to the next problem. So the final problem for today is sliding window maximum, right? This is from Hard Bucket, and the problem statement is something like you have a number of elements given in an array and a value k, and what you have to do is you have to implement a sliding window for the size k, and for each of the window you have to output the maximum element in that window. Like suppose in this case the first window is 1 3 minus 1, so the output is 3. Now second window has 3 1 minus 3, output is 3, and then we move sliding window by 1 and then just check out what is the maximum here and then output that. So this array 3 3 5 5 6 7 will be our output array. So any approaches, ideas?
Are we to like find the sliding window maximum in this problem? We need to find the maximum sum in each of the rows of this matrix.
We have to output the array of these maxes. So
Okay.
for each sliding window, so this is the first window, you have output of 3. For next window, you have output of 3. For next window, you have output 3. And your output, the result output of the entire function will be an array of 3, 3, 5, 5, 6, 7. The max of each slided window. Okay. Go ahead, guys. Any approach, anything?
One approach is like how it is a sliding, like we can add one by one in that bucket, and then after moving forward we'll be removing the first one and adding another one, like how sliding moves, like taking a 3 3 sliding windows.
Right. So in this case, when you move from 1 3 minus 1 to 3 1 minus 1, you will remove minus 1 from the bucket, right?
I'll remove first one, which is 1 from the bucket, and add minus 3 to it.
Okay. So how is it helping you to find the max?
That's so there would be another function which will be calculating the max, just giving this array.
Correct. So you will be doing a sweep of the array one by one, and for each of the window, you will calculate the max using some linear function, right?
Yeah.
So what will be the time complexity for that?
This would be like more than n, which is maybe an n square. Like n log, it would be n into k, I think.
And what if our k is n by 2? Well, it will go to the worst case will be when you have k equal to n by 2.
Yeah.
Right. You will have a complexity of almost n squared by 4. N squared by 4, yes.
Yeah. Like n square only.
Okay. Can we make a like max heap of the sliding window and then just keep on adding elements and then like checking to create the array? We'll just get in constant time what my current maximum is in the heap, right? Okay. And then just remove the element and add the next element of the window, and then do this approach for all the elements. Like that would be, I think, a better approach.
How would you remove the element from the max heap?
Okay. Like I'm not sure about the complexity of it. Okay. But I think the heapify function is a log n times. Like I'll just create a max heap of k size, and first I'll add those k element. Then I'll remove my first element, and then I'll add the next element. So I'll automatically get the next position of that.
So if you heapify that small element again and again, heapification is an n log n procedure. So for the k side, it will be n k log k, right?
Yeah.
And that activity you will do almost n minus k times.
Yeah.
So that for the worst case of k equal to n by 2 will become n square log n.
Okay.
So there is one
Right?
another approach of this, which is a segment tree approach.
I am not sure. Could you just explain? Because I'm not aware of how
So
I can
how
implement this.
segment tree works is like if we know the start and end position of that particular the range which we need to find, then we can easily go to that particular start and end position and find the max one. So how segment tree works is like where our children's are all these the numbers which array which we are having, and how they'll be becoming. Like first of all we need to find the mid, and the left side of the mid is the whole which is in the range of 0 to mid, and the right side of is like mid plus 1 to the end. And
Would it be
similarly
possible if you
we'll be
can,
subsetting all these.
Sonia, would it be possible for you to share the screen and probably draw this?
Yeah, definitely I'll do it.
It's a bit difficult for me to understand this.
Oh my god. Actually, I think you need to
Yeah, I'm stopping.
stop sharing.
I stopped to share.
So how this will work is like, for example, we have an array of this 1, 3, -1, -3, and like 5, 7, something like that. I'm not good in this. So how this work? And each children, for example, here we have 1 and 3. If we take the maximum of these, we will be having 3 over here. So how this will be going? We'll be having mid. Our mid is over here is 2, 3, 4, 5. Mid is over here. So we'll be going, this will be the left and this will be the right. So here, so now we'll be having again -1, and we'll be taking 3 -1, and this, our max over here will be 3. Similarly, we know that this would be the right point. So we'll start with like 3, 5, and take the maximum of it, which will be 5. And while taking the 3, 5 and 7, we'll be having 7 as a max, and then all of these would be having the max is 7. So here we know that the range of this this 3 is in the range of 0 to 1. Like when we are creating any node or any data structure, we'll be putting the values of left child and start and end main point. So this particular node is having the start and from 0 to 1. And similarly from this particular node is having from 0 to 2. Similarly, so you can see that these all are here, all the children nodes are the points of the array which we have created. So this would be like the n, if we have any n number of n number of arrays, n number of elements in an array, then our nodes will be like 2n - 1, because so it will be a full binary tree, because either it will be having a 0 or 2 children.
Got it. And how much time would it take to space and time complexity would it take to create this tree?
So it's a log k, like I would say log n, because we are going for finding a middle part and then moving left or right. So in a worst case, if we need to find the part which is from 0 to like something over here, let it be 6. So this is let it be 6. So if we need to find something from 0 to 6, then we half of we need to cover from here and half we need to check from here, like something.
Makes
So
sense.
which will be like how we are creating like till our mid part from here, like from starting to mid of here, and then mid plus 1 to this particular.
So essentially what you're doing is creating this new data structure, which will take up, suppose, big O of n space for this entire structure, and then using the indexes to find the max within that range.
Sorry?
Is that correct?
Yeah, finding the max in that.
Okay, so that will again be, if I see from the space complexity, it is big O of n for creating this entire segment tree again. And
so while we are creating a segment tree, we'll be creating that, I think, in a log n times, because for each operation, we are going for a left or we are going for a right.
Yeah, that is after you have created this tree. So you don't need to create this tree, do you? There will be a data structure for this, right? I'm assuming that there's a separate data structure for segment trees.
Yeah, it's a data structure. Yeah, different data structure. First of all, we need to construct this tree, and
Right, so that's what I'm saying. When you construct this tree, you need O of n space to store this, right? Or am I missing something?
So it's maybe because it's more than, it's not a space. Yeah, because it's more than I would say n, because we have to put those n minus 2 and minus 1 values as well, because these are the children which we are storing, but after that we are storing these sums as well, like max as well of these.
Right, so that will be if you have all the elements of leave n, and then minus n will still be 2 of n, 2n. In
2
the
and
order
minus
of n.
1. Yeah.
It will still be in order of n.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually similar thing you can achieve using binary search trees provided by, like in Java, we have tree set, tree map. Even in C++, there must be something similar. And you only have to have k size of your tree set or tree map. And then everything is O of log k there, right? So as soon as your size increases more than k, you can remove an element in O of log k.
Okay.
And the problem was with the heap, that was like O of it was not O of log k. That was the problem with the heap approach somebody suggested. So this is definitely much better than that. But I think since we are running out of time, I think Puneet is going with a better solution, right, Puneet?
Oh, I think I'll go with the approach that is suggested there for the linear one, because we have already discussed all of them except for one. I'll just add to the heap one. So instead of always removing an element from the heap, your concern should only be with the max, which is at the top of the heap and it's out of the bound. So if it's out of the bound and it is at the top, you can just remove it. You don't need to consider anything which is inside the heap but not the max. Right? So if you're going ahead with the heap approach, you put some values in,
Yep.
right? And suppose you're at index 4 and the max that you're seeing right now is at index 0. You don't need to consider it. You can just remove it from the heap and then look at the next value.
Okay.
Right? So in the worst case, it again has that space complexity of O of n. Okay. But yeah, the approach from that point will work. It's just that the space will be O of n.
Okay.
Right? And the time complexity will be n log. Actually, n log k. In the worst case, it will be n log n.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just, Sonia, if you could just stop the
Yeah,
share.
sure.
I'll just go ahead with the approach that's mentioned here for the follow-up question. So the follow-up question here says if you can complete this in O of n time, right? So if you see the array, let me just copy the data points from array. It's 1, 3, minus 1, minus 3, 5, 3, 6, and 7, right? Now let's consider the first window. So I'll just, have some pointers and let's see if those make sense. At any point in time, if there's a window which has 3 in it and there's a 1 before it, will it ever happen that 1 can be the maximum? Just take any combinations, any combination of, size of k, that these two elements are there and any one of them can be maximum. Will it happen ever? So let's take this size, that's 2, right? Both of them elements are there. It will have 3 as maximum. Let's take 3. It will still have 3 as maximum. Let's check this. It will still have 3 as maximum. Okay. Anyway, if you are having this 1 in place, or it is one of the candidate maximums, it will never happen that this is a final maximum if you have a higher element after it, immediately after it, or even after it for some reason, your spaces ahead. The reason being, if you have this element added in a bucket and this one is also added, at some point in time, you will have that element, the one before it, removed from the bucket, but this will still be there, right? So it will never happen that these two elements are in the same bucket. The one which is smaller on the left will ever be a maximum. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So essentially, what we are doing here is kind of creating a reducing monotonic stack, right? So we'll have 3 here, and then can -1 be a probable candidate in future? Yes, it is 1, and sometime, when 3 is removed, it may become a probable candidate of maximum, right? Now -3, it is still smaller than this, and yes, it can still be a probable candidate, right? Now when I get a 5, right? So this can be maximum, right? But now look at the condition, like we only need 3 elements in our bucket. So the element which is a start, which we'll have to remove, right? Because this will never be now a maximum, right? 3 was the maximum earlier. Now we have an element which is 5. 3 is removed from the slot, so we can remove it, right? And based on the conditions that we were discussing earlier, right? You have 1, 3. Anything which is larger and after the smaller one, it will never be. And the monotonic Q that we were discussing, the smallest Q, that is getting violated here, right? You have -3, -1, -3, and then there's a higher number. Based on the discussion that we just had, these 2 points, will it ever happen that you have any 2 of these 3 numbers with 5 in them and anything apart from 5 that is maximum? No, because if you take any combination, if you keep sliding this window of 3 ahead and ahead, till you actually find a value that is maximum more than 5, you'll never change the maximum, right? So in this auxiliary data structure, what you can do is remove everything which is greater than 5 or less than 5, right? So this one will be this one removed. And then you will have only 5 saved in the auxiliary data structure. And this one will be your candidate max value till the time either 5 is removed, that means it moves out of it, or there's an element which is greater than this comes into the picture. Does it make sense?
Okay.
Can you just explain it with an example or this only with the auxiliary data with a working example?
let's say this is the auxiliary data structure, right? So I start with 1, suppose, and I'll put 1. There's no element, so this is 1. Now there's an element called 3, right? So now based on the condition that we discussed, right, if 3 comes in and there's a smaller element less than that, it will never be a probable maximum candidate, right? So we'll remove this. Okay, I'll just remove it and put 3 in that place, right? Because that's the new maximum, that's the new probable maximum candidate. Now there's a -1 that comes in, right? Right now I'm still in the same window, right? So -1 comes in. In future, when these elements move out, yes, this can become a probable candidate. I'm not sure till now, but it can become. So that's why I'll just keep it here. Does it make sense till now?
Yes.
Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll move my window and go to the next section. This is my new window. So when I move the window, I know I have to remove 1. But 1 is nowhere in the auxiliary data structure, so I don't need to worry about it. Right? The reason being I am already removed 1 because 3 was there. My max will always be at the first position. Right? And then the future maximums will be somewhere down the line in the queue. Right? Now I have next element, which is -3. Again, based on the same logic, -3, yes, we can put it in because in future it might become a potential maximum element. I move my window again. Now I go to -1 to 5. I'm removing 3, right? Because I'm out of the window. And I look at the top, yes, this is the element which is getting removed. So I'll remove this one, right? I'll remove this element from the auxiliary data structure. And the new element getting added is 5. Now, if you see 5, it's a new element of the auxiliary data structure, right? And it is greater than any of the elements that are already in, right? And anytime we get a data structure which is greater and there are smaller elements after it, they will never become the maximum now again. So what I'll do is I'll remove this one, I'll remove this one, and I'll put 5 in there. So now this is the head of my queue structure, right? Or the auxiliary data structure. And this will point to the maximum. Now, similar way, moving ahead, now my next element to be added is 3. And my element to be removed is -1. It's not there, so I'll move ahead, keep moving ahead. Till the time I'll add 3 and then 6. Now when I'm adding 6, I'll have to remove all 3, 5, and then add 6 here. Because all of them are smaller than this one. And the final step will be when I add 7, it'll be to remove 6 and then have 7, right? And every time you see I'm adding and removing, I'm moving this header pointer. Now header or the pointer which is pointing to my max element, right? And anything which was added or removed before is now not of no use. Does it make sense till now?
Yes.
So now only data, the thing that we need to look into this is to get it a completely algorithm is how can we have this data structure optimized so that the removals and the additions that we are doing, they are done in constant time. Constant or minimum time. Right? Because we see, all the elements that are being done here, right? We access them once, right? And now the only thing is how we can reduce these elements.
And also,
so this is why.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Raja, go ahead. I was just giving the solution.
Yeah, also observation, because you do it pretty well, that we are doing this activity from both the ends. Because 3, for example, its lifespan, finished and it has to draw from left side, and a new candidate will come from right side, and there could be more candidates which have lesser values. They have to go from that side. So there are 2 ways to die, right? One, your lifespan finishes. The other one, someone better than you have come. So now that will give you more context which data structure to use, because you can think that way to deduce that.
Yeah, so this is somehow kind of a data structure which can give you properties of both stack as well as a queue. And any guesses on the data structure? Don't worry, guys. This is the first time I even heard about this data structure. So there's something called as DQ. It's essentially nothing but a doubly linked list that I can understand from the raw. So you have each element, and you have pointing into both the ends. So this will be your start, and this will be your end. So all the removals that you're doing is from the end. And all the removes from the start, you can use it during the start point. And additions, you can use the end pointer. So there are a couple of STRs also, I think, in Java, and I in other DQ something, DEQUE, which can give you an array-like interface, but internally it has this doubly linked list implemented. Guys, is this understood? Confusing?
Yeah, any questions on either the approach or the data structure? Please come now. Like any questions?
But isn't this showing the behavior of a queue only, because we are removing from one end and then storing from the other end? Why it's a DQ?
We are
You
removing from both the ends, right?
Yeah.
We are removing, as Roger said, we are removing from the front of the queue when the lifespan ends, but we are also removing from the rear of the queue when there's a better element found.
When there's a better element form. Okay, okay.
And also we touch all the elements exactly once, right? Most likely just once you look at it. So definitely it's like, this is the best you can.
Yes, even in the auxiliary array, you will use that element either during the time of adding or during the time of deletion. So at max, each element will be added, touched only twice, max. Once when you're iterating the input array, and once when you're, adding or removing it from the auxiliary array, which is essentially the DQ. Okay, if there are no questions, then we can end this.